Hey guys, it's Matt. I'm not covering the same old thing you think I'm going to be covering here. I think in my conversation with Greg the other day, I think we finally have a theory that's kind of like a breakthrough theory that can get us off the hamster wheel here. Now, in terms of what's going on all the way down the terminus, we will disagree, but this is kind of a leap off the hamster wheel, and I think you'll see it if I present it correctly. So if you're driving or just listening, guys, you don't need to see these thumbnail images. I'm going to bounce around a lot and show a lot of things, but you don't need to see it, and I'll describe whatever we're looking at. So the only reason I'm showing this to start, this is the new Netflix series, He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Revelation, the rekindling or revitalization, supposedly, of the old 1982 or 1985 series, the Saturday morning cartoons. You know, we all remember it if you're over age 45, He-Man and Skeletor and all that. So the idea here is this is the latest reiteration of what the system has destroyed on purpose. This system is out to destroy everything that was once good on purpose. It doesn't matter what you thought of He-Man. This is just one example among many, of course, with the most notable being Star Wars, how Star Wars was destroyed on purpose. So the theory is, first of all, let me just tell you what happened, and then I'll show some different images and go into some different tabs. But once the movie reviewers and the comic reviewers came out and for the 100th time said, oh, they destroyed it again with their woke marketing, you know, I rolled my eyes and said, you know, I'm sick of this same old reaction from these comic book reviewers and these movie reviewers like the Critical Drinker and such. I'm tired of the same old reaction. You know, whether they know really what's going on or not, or it's just their role to present it a certain way. I said, I'm sick of this, you know. And again, it doesn't, if somebody's going, well, so what if He-Man was ruined? Okay, you know, most people don't give a crap about He-Man. I give you that. But this is just the latest iteration. So we're going to focus a little bit more on this. But this is no different than what happened to Star Wars or Doctor Who or all the other series or anything that was once good that has been ruined. So I called Greg and I said, Greg, we got to get to the bottom of this. Obviously, it's just not about woke marketing and liberal people in Hollywood and liberal people in Disney and Netflix pushing social agendas and social justice warrior agendas and liberal politics. Of course, they don't care about that. That's a means to an end. And Greg and I, we actually believe we hit the nail on the head here. Now, again, this moves us off the hamster wheel in terms of what's happening all the way down the end of the train line at the terminus. We're going to disagree a little bit. Okay, so for those that aren't following Nerdrotic every day in these comic book reviewers, give me 5 minutes to build a case here as to what I've always said about this sort of thing and what they've said. These reviewers that simply, maybe a few are, quote, in on it, but most of them, of course, they just don't have a clue and keep going to their same old bag of tricks in their toy box to explain everything away. Where have we seen that before? Here's another example. If you go in your toy box, it's going to love to feed you an answer from inside your known reality. It's not going to be right because they're doing multidimensional chess. They're delivering a piece onto your board that doesn't, through a different dimension. You know, that's how sophisticated this not milk thing is here that works through its minions. So again, but guys, if you are well versed in this, you know, give me 5 minutes. Not everybody understands what's going on here. I'll try to keep it this summary to bring us up to speed before I present my theory as as exciting as I can. So just give me 5 minutes, guys. Okay. It didn't all start with Star Wars, but this is where we really started to notice. And I could do hours and hours on this. I really need to be brief, and I promise I will for a change. The last three Star Wars proved that Star Wars was ruined on purpose. On purpose. You know, I mean, first grade truthers will still probably try to talk to me about profits and, well, that doesn't make any sense. Disney has to make profits. Why would they ruin it on? No, it has nothing to do with profits. They don't need money. We don't have time to discuss it. They can take whatever money they want from whatever Federal Reserve crony that they married into through the brother-in-law. It's all connected through the creepy table. The bankers, the Fed, the top corporations, they don't need money, right? Profits and the need for profits, all an illusion. Okay, We could do 10 hours on that. Let's just move on. That's a fact. I mean, that is just a fact. 10 companies, major companies, major should have failed by now. Nobody fails. Everybody gets all the money they ever need. Last 3 Star Wars ruined on purpose. Now, I'd love to do a 5-hour presentation on this, but anybody could see after watching these 3 horrible stinker movies that any 8th grade Dungeons and Dragons club, and you go to any middle school in this country and say, George Lucas is here, he's actually giving you the creative control. He'd like you, by the end of the period, to storyboard out the next 3 Star Wars. Any Dungeons and Dragons club of 8th graders could storyboard out a better story than what they presented. But this is the company that has access to the greatest creative minds in the world. Okay, Matt, you're making a case here. We got you. We're with you. Move on. Okay, it's just fun to go over, though. If they got stuck, Ryan Smith or whatever, if they got Ryan's Johnson, if they got stuck, they could knock on the door of Pixar and say, you guys are pretty creative. Can you help us out? It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I know 100%, I have to say it as my opinion, of course, that the 3 Star Wars were destroyed on purpose. All right, I'm building a case here, guys. But then we see this happens over and over and over and over again. And it's not just sci-fi. Sci-fi is where it's most noticeable. But it's music is being destroyed. That's when they bring forth, the Gucci Gang, the Little Pimp, and that's the greatest thing of all time, with approaching 1 billion views or whatever. And 2 or 3 Grammys ago, that it's not Cedric the entertainer, it's like Marvin the Entertainer, and he's jumping around with his blue hair, and the buildings are burning, and it's all being destroyed by the system on purpose. The system needs to destroy everything creative. We'll talk about that later. But in terms of what I'm presenting here, it destroys this facet of arts and media under the guise of woke marketing, under the guise of liberal politics. That's the essence of my theory. So again, if anybody's struggling, let me just 3 more minutes to bring you up to speed. So everything's being destroyed. We've seen this theme really play out over the last 5 years. So Doctor Who. Most people in the U.S. don't know much about Doctor Who, but this is a beloved series that goes back maybe to the early 70s or even the late 60s in the UK, where several people have played Doctor Who. Others that came before her were beloved. Everybody liked the different reiterations of the series. Then they introduce a woman to play Doctor Who, and it's not just this is how they hide behind it, okay? It's not about a woman playing Doctor Who. If the series was good, I'm sure the Doctor Who fans would be just fine with it. But this is how the evil genius in which they do business. The show becomes complete buffoonery. It's horrible. She's horrible. Is she being horrible on purpose? Maybe, but they probably brought somebody in they know has just severe limitations. It's meant to be destroyed, right? If anybody's talking to me about profits or whatever, again, forget all that. You don't understand the way the world really works if you're fixated on they do it for money. It has nothing to do with money. So Doctor Who, just know, all the fans go away. I watched Doctor Who for 50 years and it's now ruined, and they're so upset about it. And again, the real Star Wars diehards are so upset about it. The system is out to destroy, but it needs a reason, or it needs a public reason to destroy. And it does it via liberal politics, woke marketing, but it's just using that as cover. That's the essence of the theory that Greg helped me with the other night. So still in that 5 minutes of summary presentation, guys, when you get into the latest Terminator, you have it's kind of like the Terminator that helps, but it's an augmented human. But nevertheless, it's a boy girl. I mean, you don't know, it's androgynous, of course. In addition, they come forth with a Terminator that looks like this guy. I mean, it's supposed to look menacing, not like somebody you'd scream at in your high school or college and force them to carry your books for you. I mean, it's all, again, they're not stupid when they're not making mistakes the way the critical drinker and all of these movie reviewers don't understand that they're just making mistakes, or they're not listening to the fans. Are you kidding me? I mean, maybe the first or second time you could use those excuses, but now the 100th time, and the 100th major franchise, these major corporations just can't figure out what fans want. These movie reviewers, like Critical Drinker, and it's not just Nerdrotic or whatever. I pick on the same people, but they're all doing it. I don't think they're in on it, but there's only two explanations. Either they're in on it, or they literally lack intelligence. Because, there may be a few cases where you have a major franchise beloved for 40 years, where the Hollywood producers and the people that put everything together just don't quite deliver what the fans want. But when it happens over and over and over and over, and this series destroyed, and this beloved Terminator franchise destroyed, and this beloved Star Trek destroyed, and this sci-fi series destroyed, ruined, over and over again, come up with a better explanation, like I'm trying to do here. I've commented under them. I'm sure they block my comments by now, because every comment I leave under their review is like, no, this is all being done on purpose. I'm sure nobody sees it, and it's probably the comment's probably removed automatically. So Star Trek Discovery, I can't show this very long, guys. There's one relationship in the whole show, and you know what I'm going to say. And we get to Kevin Smith here, which will tie us back to He-Man and the weird stuff going on with this guy. Like, if there's a whole segment of YouTube in our community that loves to talk about, body doubles, replacements, clones. I mean, this guy would be, I'm sure they're talking about him in that regard. And, he's playing a role, in my opinion, and he's as creepy as it gets. So we'll come back and talk about this Kevin Smith thing a little bit later. So, guys, just a little bit of detail on what inspired me to do this video and to make that phone call to Greg to figure out, what the heck is finally going on here. Back to the Masters of the Universe. You see that, first off, the old series was about, mostly about this guy, He-Man, of course, and, his big muscles and a sword. And these characters were, secondary and tertiary, of course, to He-Man. But they come out with the new, Kevin Smith, working with Netflix, comes out with the new Master of the Universe. It's called Revelation, He-Man. And, of course, they kill He-Man off because the leading white male character can't even be in his own show. So I haven't seen, sorry for the spoilers, guys. I've seen 2 episodes. It's very hard to watch. Plus, it's a cartoon. It really is. It's for kids. But there's a lot of adults that have an affinity towards this old stuff, but so they watch it. Anyway, whatever. I still like watching Star Wars, so who am I to talk? But you have this Teela who becomes, a New York State poster girl. Where once I'll show you what she used to look like in the old series, but now huge, bulging muscles, somewhat androgynous, the haircut, perhaps the same barber as the leading woman on the United States women's soccer team. We need to talk about her. Something very strange going on there too in another video. Huge bulging muscles, the haircut, the look. I'd like to say a few more things, guys, but this isn't free voice. So, and then you have even this, they team up with Skeletor's evil sorceress. She has huge bulging muscles, and it's the voice of, the queen, the real nasty queen from Game of Thrones, who, it's a very interesting voice. I like that actress or whatever. But anyway, sorry. So here's what she used to look like. And if I can find it, where is it? Down here. Come on. Okay, this is what Teela looked like in 83 or 4, whenever it was. Looked like a woman. I mean, just, feminine, but strange. She had a sword. She kicked some ass. And now, well, this is... Okay, you understand where I'm going with this, and no need to repeat all the things that the Critical Drinker and all these other reviewers complain about. So they'll come out and complain and say the same old thing over and over and over again. oh, the liberals have gotten control of everything and woke politics, and it has to be this. It has to be the leading. The female lead has to overtake the man, and the man, He-Man, isn't even in his own show. I mean, of course, it's all true what they're saying. That making the women look incredible, and the men are just incompetent, and they just look up and grovel before the strong women. Okay, of course, they go on and on about this stuff, but why is it being done? This is where these people have no clue, and we haven't really gotten close either. I think we're getting pretty close now, because I asked Greg. I said we need to talk about this, and we went over a lot of stuff, and I think we're getting pretty close. Okay. So get to it, Matt. Okay. Now, my theory, okay, again, it should be about this guy is in the first episode until they kill He-Man off in his own show. And he does look like what you would think He-Man used to look like, and they didn't put any leggings on him or anything, but they figured, well, present the real character, or what he should be, and then just kill him off, and then it'll be about her. Okay. So here's the theory, guys, and thank you for sticking with me on that. Some people need to be brought up to speed. The system, and this is where we might disagree at the end, is out to destroy everything. Everything that was once creatively good. And maybe a little bit later we'll talk about, well, why is it doing this? Why does it need to do this? The reality itself, the not Nook reality itself. We'll talk about that on the back end, but for now, we know this is obviously how many examples do you need to see? Of course. Now, it needs, when the system is out to, let me back up, guys, because this is a hard part to talk through. I mean, these are the biggest concepts imaginable. So sorry if I stumble a bit. It destroys everything that was once good. To harm a human being, to harm a real human being. Okay, we'll talk about it later. But it needs an excuse when everything is being destroyed. It needs an excuse. If it just produced, let's just say Kevin Smith's involved, who was Jay and Silent Bob and Clerks, and whoever's involved with Star Wars and all these big names, Jar Jar Abrams, and all these big Disney's involved and all this creative talent. See, if they just produced a horrible, horrible show every single time, like you watch He-Man and you're all excited because you love the cartoon when you were 12 or 14 years old, and He-Man was they just showed him as this this scrawny little guy, and he just learned to take up pottery, and there's no fighting with Skeletor, and Skeletor had checked himself into rehab, and there's just nothing going on in the cartoon. And then He-Man's like, hey, now I'm going to learn to grow sunflowers, and there's nothing to the show, and the show is just by itself, the show is horrible over and over. No one would believe it. Well, who knows what the people around us would believe today in terms of the frequency they put themselves on. Basically, almost anything could be presented to them and be believable, but let's just assume there's still a bunch of real people out there somewhere. They wouldn't believe it, right? But if you do it, I'm not explaining this real well, but you'll see what I'm saying in a moment. If you destroy it under the guise of liberal politics, woke marketing, liberal agendas, social justice warrior agendas, agendas from radical groups, I can't say any names, but different groups of gender groups or alternate lifestyle groups or race groups. If you do it, if it's inserted, if the story that's presented to the fans it's just inserted by then they'll show you the producer who's behind the demasculization of a certain comic book character, and they'll say the fans will say, oh, they turned it over to her. Look, she has all this history of liberal social justice warrior politics and woke marketing agendas. So, see, they need a reason to destroy it. Of course it's not about the woke marketing. And let's just do a few minutes on this, guys, regarding, every strong a woman has to have an androgynous feel, and women like Rey in Star Wars can do no wrong. She just jumps right in the Millennium Falcon. The first 5 minutes she's ever been in it, it's sitting on as like a pile of junk on this desert planet, and she flies loop de loops better than Chewie or Han Solo ever could, and she's never even gotten behind the wheel. It's so absurd, and it's so bad overall. The fans, they need the regular people, if assuming they're regular people, they need a reason to grasp on to why it's so bad. So I should have shown, whatever. You've heard me talk about reviewers like the Critical Drinker, which he's entertaining, but he's either in on it or he completely misses the boat on everything. But look, this is, the conspiracy nature of the things we talk about here is very difficult for people to see. And I guess if I hear you crying out, Matt, you expect people to comprehend what you're saying here? Of course they're not going to be able to. I hear you. But when it happens so many times, you're just going to go back to the same the same excuse, and say, oh, the major corporation let their liberal activists get control of it, and they had to put their social justice warrior activism into the show. And see, then the people listening to these reviewers, they have a reason why it's destroyed. It's the system just has to destroy it. I had to collect my thoughts for part 2. So the system itself, which I talk about as the reality itself, working through the minions, working through those here that choose to be on its frequency, that choose to accept its frequency, and therefore will do its bidding. It's like it's playing a game with the real people here, whoever's left, that all that was once, quote, good or creative, it needs to be put out there, or the original or the original creation can be good. It's like the system allows it, for lack of better words, or if you will. I hate that, if you will. But then it works to destroy it, and it's almost like, okay, we'll put it out as great, and then work to destroy it. And if we can get it all the way to the destruction phase, where people are accepting of it, and other than little comic book, forum pushbacks, then it's like the system or the not like gets a point. It's almost like there's something like that going on, but that's a greater reality discussion. So let me just show you a few more examples here. Of course, I mean, who knows how real it was presented as real. All right, when I covered this and others covered this about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, new comic book characters from DC or Marvel, where you have this little fat girl with a backpack. You have I think it's called Snowflake and Safe Space. It's almost so ridiculous it almost can't be believed. Like there's, but they presented it as real. Did they make comic books with these characters? I don't know, but if this was it an April Fool's Day joke, it certainly wasn't presented that way. And it doesn't matter, even if it was. They've destroyed so many things. It's not like this theory doesn't hold. They've destroyed everything. I mean, you can go to, they redesigned what a Klingon looks like. And I believe I know why they did it. I have to be very careful the way I talk about it. I presented this several years ago on the channel. If what a Klingon is to a Star Trek fan. Now, this is something that's sacred. The way Professor Turgeston in Back to School talked about certain things being sacred. That wasn't too good. Oh, Mr. Hilper. That was a little better. Certain things are sacred. The way a Star Trek fan holds on to a Klingon. And I know there's been reiterations through look, there was no budget for that 60s show, and I know it was ridiculous. It was like white people spray painted or whatever. Okay. But then the next generation, and then even, even Janeway or whatever it showed you for decades almost what a Klingon was or is, and mostly presented by, Worf. Michael Dorn is a black man. His brother presented on the show is a black man. And this is not every Klingon is a black man, but this is how a Klingon, okay, they just completely changed it. The word is canon, I believe. There's the canon, or the main script that all Star Trek hybrids must respect. that it must, how a certain thing works, how a warp drive works. You can't just, if you're going to do Star Trek spin-offs, you must respect, I think the word is the canon, if I'm getting that correctly. But see, what the genius is how it's put out is, if Star Trek Discovery, and it was somewhat interesting, the first season, but then as usual, it's destroyed. It gets a bit worse and worse, and weird things are introduced, and certain relationships are introduced, and if it is out to destroy it, which is what the system seems to be out to do with anything creative that was beloved, then it can hide behind this woke marketing, where somebody, and where I'm going with this, I'm sorry if I didn't just get to it. I have to be very careful the way I say this, but see, Michael Dorn and black men played Klingons, and you see the Klingons are the bad guys, and you can't have that associated with that. See what I'm, so you have to make the Klingon completely different, not in any way related to a Klingon played by a black man, Michael Dorn, and his brother comes into the show later, and he's a black man. You have to do something completely different with the Klingons, because you can never show evil Klingons in any way relate that to, can I say a black man? Okay, I don't, again, I don't know what, they ban me quickly. I got to be careful. So it's a woke, they would say, oh, they redesigned the Klingons for that reason. And that was my theory initially, but it hides, when it destroys this stuff, it hides behind the liberal politics and the woke marketing as the reason for the destruction. When, if you understand my theory here, all it cares about, the system, all it cares about is the destruction of the once beloved art or media or entertainment. But it knows it needs to present an excuse that people can point to, a reason for it. Oh, that this new Star Trek series was put in under the creative control of this liberal wacko activist, Atlantic magazine reader. So then they'll point to that and say that's the reason for it. And it lets them sleep at night that how reality works still fits into their toy box. And that's essentially what's going on here. So guys, it's obviously not just sci-fi series and movies. I mean, when you just flip by MTV today, this is even tame. He's, yeah, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. That's all he does, say Gucci gang. Yeah, Lil Pimp. I can't even do it. It's so bad, I can't even get into the mindset to imitate it. I guess, this isn't they didn't insert the Twin Towers in this, did they? Yeah, pretty much. Well, no, that's just one. It could be seen as two, but whatever. Yeah, Gucci gang. Look at him. I mean, and this is tame by today's standard. He's an artistic genius, probably compared to what's on MTV today. So they destroyed everything, but then there has to be a reason, a way to explain it. And, it's, the normie down the cul-de-sac would find a way to explain this, though this is what the youth of today wants, and the inner city and has been so beaten down that this is the creative way they express themselves because their whole culture, and their culture has been destroyed, but that reason is invalid, if you see what I'm. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Okay, that leads us to this movie. I think Matrix 4 is still, I guess, slated to come out December or around Christmas of this year, I believe. We'll see. But guys, I can only, if I had to put my roulette chips on a number, be based on the fact that every time they've come forth with a dust off of an old movie, or especially sci-fi or series that was once great, the new one serves in some way to destroy the message, meaning, or canon of the old. Well, then who would possibly think this isn't going to follow the same script? Now, there's a chance it might not, because the Matrix is so important to the system itself in terms of delivering truth, embedded truth, alongside of, something dressed up as sci-fi that's meaningless, truth alongside deception, but there's tremendous underlying truth in what the Matrix trilogy presented. No question about it. And it's so important to the system, or the message they have to kind of put out for those with the eyes to see, that in other words, this is like, this stands alone on a lot of fronts. So are they just going to ruin it like they do something they don't really care about, like Star Trek or Terminator? I'd have to put my chips there, but I wouldn't. It might. There's a chance it won't be, because it's so important, and they might have to, because they've been biting off so many gigantic bites of the shit sandwich. I mean, they're taking bites. You can hear them just taking so many bites. You know, whoever's been over their contract might be, say, look, you guys better, you've been taking too many bites. You got to deliver something back. You've got to deliver some truth back. And again, I don't like the way these conversations go, guys, this part, because it assumes like the creeps are all powerful, all knowing, and they just choose to leak out little bits of truth to us. And I don't think, in the end of the day, like there could be a certain element that does understand, but please don't ever confuse that with me thinking like people like Melvin P. Understand, or Zuck the Borg understand how reality works. The more I look at this, the more these minions, the more they're on TV, the more they know next to nothing, in my opinion. They might understand that, Jeff Bezos might understand that he's just not just some little entrepreneur that started on his own, and how he's tied into the general system itself, and tied into all the big banks and the Federal Reserve and DARPA, and that, that's all minion level stuff. It might be a lot of creepy backroom meetings and some eyes wide shut parties. Like a guy like Bezos, I'm sure he knows way more than all of us do in that regard. Like the way I used to talk about Rush Limbaugh, in his bucket, he knows there's no such thing as a presidential election. But in terms of how reality itself works, how the reality itself works through minions like Bezos to get people like us, you could call, real spirits or generators that help create reality itself, how it shapes us to do its bidding. And I don't think people like Bezos and Melvin P., and I don't think they have any clue in terms of what's important, how the reality works, in terms of how the major corporations are tied into the Fed so none of them can fail. That's not that important to how reality itself works, the shaping of consciousness to do certain things, to accomplish certain things for them. So if the person's basically, if they're on TV, I don't think they know squat. Yeah, I'll do it from Point Break. You've produced exactly squat. Caught my first tube today. Sorry. So guys, Matrix 4, I'd have to assume it'll ruin the first three, because why would I think it did? That's likely if the roulette table, every time you spun the little ball around, it comes up with a certain number 50, 100 times in a row. Well, I'm going to bet on that number the next time. But you see what I'm saying. So back to, we'll do back to Masters of the Universe here. She's the man. And they start the show. She's being awarded, per the king, the title, the lead protector of the realm, or whatever it's called. And they call her Man at Arms. And of course, the Duncan, I think his name is, the real famous character, her father from the He-Man series, who was the lead guy or the protector of the realm or Man at Arms, he's just moved aside. So it starts with the woke marketing and the woke politics but again, guys, that's just a way so the average guy or girl that watches The Critical Drinker, that complains about this same stuff over and over again, just complains, and that the same little explanations seem to be okay for these people, that it's just the wrong liberal activists got their hands on it and they ruined it. Yeah, sure, yeah. That by itself proves the world doesn't work the way, that we think it does. Because if it was all about profits, at some point, the CEOs of these companies would be like, well, we know now, it only took us 10 years, but we know now this is not what fans want. Well, they know inside the first focus group, inside the first 5 minutes, this is not what fans want. If you and I, if me sitting here in my underwear, know this is not what fans want. I think the CEO making hundreds of millions of dollars a year with access to unlimited funds to tap into the fandom and the tweets and what the people are saying in websites and especially blogs. I think they know what the fans want. But these movie reviewers and comic book reviewers like Nerdrotic and whatever, they just don't. They just say the same things over and over again. They just lost touch with the fans. I mean, how many times can you say that over and over and over again? I mean, really? So, and then here we go with the same type of script. Kevin Smith has put forth, he lied to us, and he promised the He-Man would come back, and all the comic book reviewers like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic and the others they'll blame Kevin Smith, and he must have been influenced by the liberal masters of the universe in Hollywood, and this would be Marvel, not Marvel. This would be Mattel owns this. You know, of course, I'm sure if you I haven't looked at Barbie and Ken, but I'm sure the woke agenda is all over Barbie and Ken today, and Barbie can choose whatever gender she wants, of course. And I haven't looked at it, but of course, it has to be that way. So are you going to keep, guys, not you guys listening, but are you going to keep going back to the same tired old excuses? Or are you going to get a clue, as to how the world really works? Well, I doubt that's what's going to happen because, one, if they're regular people, we know regular people just can't see this the way we see it. That sounds awfully arrogant, Matt. You guys are special. Yeah, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. This isn't exactly what's going on, but it's getting, at least it's a theory that gets close, unlike these reviewers parroting back the same stuff. And, do I think they're in on it? Again, they did present He-Man as the real He-Man until, for about 50 seconds until they killed him off. But these reviewers, it's more like the Critical Drinker, for example. I don't think he's in on it. He gets some call from the Illuminati window or whatever, but he understands his role is tons and hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and he understands what his role is. His role is to, in a funny way, in a creative way, to whenever Hollywood is ruining something and producing complete garbage, his role is to grab a hold of it and present how it's being, or not, he will never present how it's being ruined. They'll present the fact that one more thing bites the dust. Another thing has been ruined. And then the spin will be, again, constant need for Hollywood to put the woman out front to make the man look bad. And if anybody's yelling at me, Matt, these movies and comic books, they do make the man look like some little slime worm that has to grovel before the female. And I know they do, but that's just an excuse so people understand, quote, why it's being destroyed. At the end of the day, if you could interview the Not Nelk system, it doesn't care as long as the end result is it's destroyed. Okay. Just in case anybody's not following me, I've got to do the charity basketball game example one more time. Now, this is, you're not missing anything if you're driving, but it's showing a picture of Ted Cruz. He's out no, he's not a real politician. He's dribbling up the court. It looks like Jimmy Kimmel is trying to guard him. The bounce is so high. I mean, anybody could take the ball away from him in 2 seconds anyway. So the point is, guys, I mean, look at these clowns. Let's say Jimmy Kimmel was playing with Ted Cruz. And the same example, but I have to do this one more time. Matt, you're going to do it again in the future. Yeah, I will. They playing against now Michael Jordan out of retirement, Charles Barkley, and Shaq. Takes his disguise and beard off in terms of going around to all the Papa Johns, and he plays celebrity game. So you have Shaq, Barkley, and Michael Jordan of today, old men, but I would think they're still rather competent on a basketball court. That's just me. I would think they still are. I think they could beat Jimmy Kimmel, Ted Cruz, and who would be the third guy you'd put? Maybe they have a chance of winning. How about Ron Paul? Oh, no, he couldn't move around out there. Rand Paul, he's a champion for the conservatives. Yeah, well, he's not a fraud at all. Rand Paul is completely fighting for us. Who would think he's not on the side of the people? So you put him out there with Ted Cruz and Jimmy Kimmel. Now, let's say these guys won. or that Ted Cruz won, and they beat Barkley and Jordan and Shaq. Is there anybody that would think they won just by being good? Of course not. So the same thing here, guys. If Disney puts out a Star Wars movie, or Marvel puts something out, or even the last Thor Ragnarok was a joke. The way they presented a beloved, very serious, very mean, and very intimidating character, the Hulk, they made a joke out of it. They just destroyed it by making jokes. Of course, it had a strong female, diverse character. Ragnarok was to destroy Thor. This theme is over and over again. But nobody would think Ted Cruz would take Barkley underneath and muscle him around. So when Ted Cruz wins, you would say it was obviously a fake. Well, if they were to put out every time the system's out to destroy the art and the music and the movies, and they just put out a horrible nonsense movie, nobody would believe it. They would say there's nobody in the Disney executive board that would have ever approved this. You and I would actually get through to people. So one of the ways, well, I guess they have multiple ways to destroy things, but one of their main way, of course, right now is to destroy it using the woke marketing principle. To say, if people say, okay, that's the reason why it was so bad, because they just can't help themselves pushing their liberal agendas. But what Disney did with the last 3 Star Wars is no different than Ted Cruz, Jimmy Kimmel, and Rand Paul beating in the celebrity or charity event Barkley, Shaq, and Jordan. It's no different. To me and you, it's just as unbelievable. But you give the movies have a reason. Oh, the liberals got a hold of it. Even my friend Tony, all he can parrot back to me is, Matt, I don't agree with you on all your. I mean, he never meets me in the middle, as I've said. But the one area where he will give me a half of an inch. Say, Matt, you're conspiracy crap, but I do agree that this whole liberal Marxist theme has taken over everything. I see it within my kids' schools, and it's all that's how he rationalizes it. Not that he sees the evil behind the screen the way we do. It has to be something he can understand from his toy box. So the liberal Marxists have taken over, and that basically what's going on here. Okay, let's do a segment on Kevin Smith here and the presentation of him and all this. I don't think I'm going to get to the bottom of this, look at your comments, but I can sniff this out or read the Matrix Code. The presentation of Kevin Smith himself is part of how the system's doing business in terms of what it's presenting here. Again, but you'll see the repeating themes and patterns, and I'll try to describe it if you're just driving or listening. But guys, what we're dealing with here is so evil, genius, and it is so beyond what men and women could pull off. I mean, it does fascinate me over and over again, and just how this whole Kevin Smith thing and his role in all this, at least in the comic book side of the destruction, now culminating in the He-Man, is all part of it. So all I did for Google Images, guys, was type Kevin space Smith. That's it. I didn't say comic book. I didn't say Comic-Con. Nothing. Okay, and these repeating theme images come up. Somebody screaming at me from their bathtub saying, well, the most recent images will come first. I don't know. I'm just saying it's all by design. And if you're driving, first of all, you have Kevin Smith. He looks like he lost 100 pounds or something like that. He was out-rokered. He out-rokered himself. He doesn't, so you have the truth community saying MK Ultra and mind control and clones and all this stuff. And they probably want all of that spin to start. Hopefully I'm here to squash it. Don't play right into its hands. But in every picture, he has this weird, his eyes are like completely all white, and he's got this weird puckered look on his face. And it's unnatural, guys. And it's all part of this presentation of how Kevin Smith. So, guys, let me back up. For those that don't know, Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks, did a bunch of these movies like Chasing Amy, different things in Hollywood, has a name, a pretty good name in the comic book industry, fighting for the comic book industry, a man of the people. But no, he's not. Of course he's not. You get under the dragon's wing, there's no man of the people. And it's all come out now. He's being used as a villain in this whole story. So, again, for those that don't know, let me just go down. I'm sure there's some meme, something here. I mean, every picture he's like all his eyes are all buggy, and no, he's not a clone. It's all by design and how the system is making this present. His eyes are all buggy, all this strange look on his face, like somebody that's posed for tens of thousands of pictures doesn't know how to put a normal look on their face when they take a picture. If it's being presented this way, it's exactly the way they want it to be presented. I mean, we've been over that for how many years? So there's got to be some weird meme here or something. It's just the same weird look. He's all eyes bugged out, and of course they're just probably just dying for the truth community to start all sorts of sidebar videos about MK Ultra, and he's been Johnny Depp cloned and all this bull crap that, if you want to chase that, be my guest. It's all what they want, and looks like he's lost about 400 pounds. But he's okay, whatever. There's no pictures of him here crying, but he's been shown crying because Star Wars got so bad, and this comic book hero was ruined, and Superman isn't presented the way it used to be, and then he's so upset for the fans, and he's been a man of the people, and now he's a villain because he promised. He's the executive producer on this He-Man bullcrap. He promised the original He-Man, holding true to the canon and what He-Man really is supposed to be, and now all the fans feel betrayed. And it's all part of the script, obviously. And these pictures are all, I mean, why is he posing like all bugged out over and over again? Okay? And he's usually in the same jacket in all these pictures. It's like a purplish, I mean, I'm not going to, what message is that sending, Matt, from the Illuminati window in the Chernobyl Control Center? Who cares? Let's stop that nonsense. Let's look at the major theme as to how the reality itself wants to take a human being off its path, off its course. Oh, what's the meaning of the jacket? Who gives a crap? These truthers will just spend years looking at stupid stuff. And, guys, what I try to do, again, is try to just show you how the reality does business. And at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. It wants a human being to get caught up in the distraction of which we're looking at now. Matt, you're doing a screen exercise. Yes, because I'm teaching you that not to do it. If you want to check out, check out. I'm always going to be a high school teacher here. That's what I do here. And it's still fascinating. But I will, remind people that this is just a screen exercise. It wants us, focusing on this clown. But it's just, what I'm trying to point out is this guy is so obviously playing a role in all this. And, why they have to present him with this weird look all the time, I don't know, and who cares? By my heel, I care not. But it is so, even the weight loss has something to do with it in terms of what they want us thinking about Kevin Smith. It's evil genius, but for those of us that are starting to get a clue as to how it does business, it's very pathetic and in most cases, very easy to see through once you can see or understand its basic tactics and you don't confine yourself to your toy box. The answer ain't in the toy box. Once you go outside the toy box, it's easy to see. So, do we cover all there's Snowflake and Safe Space, the Klingons, Matrix 4, Gucci Gang, yeah, Gucci Gang. I think we covered everything, guys. So let's go back to the, see here, he's crying about something, something related to, he's been such a proponent for the comic book industry, but now he's a villain and all part of the script. Okay, enough on Kevin Smith. Let's get back to the biggest theories. There's nothing to do with He-Man or anything here. It's almost like, I have another conversation with Greg, like what is it, it's almost like this game of life, or let me say it's a spiritual battle for souls or whatever it is. It's like a game with points on both sides. Matt won, not Nilk, whatever, or you do a road rage, scream at somebody, and Ben at Vat City be like, not Nilk won, Ben 0, I road raged against them. That's exactly what it wanted me to do. It's almost like there's a game being played here, and from its perspective, this theme repeats over and over and over again. Put out something that was once, or offer up something that was very, very good. Let's just do this. Let's just go images, get off the comic book thing. Beatles. I don't know, Paul McCartney or whatever, the old Beatles or whatever it might be. Okay, you might not be the biggest fan, guys, but there's no question. And no, I agree with Mike that they didn't write this stuff. To be able to produce all of the incredible music on all of these albums, John Lennon says he can't read or write music. You couldn't, of course. It's just impossible. They bring in strings and horns and different types of percussion, and these are frontmen. I agree with Mike. But it doesn't matter. For the point of this presentation is the system brings forth something that's extremely good, and then it works to ruin it over, and it's like it plays a game against humanity. And for what you could say what you want about the Beatles, but Sgt. Pepper's, the White Album, I mean, every album, there are 4 or 5 songs that are bordering on genius, absolute genius. Okay, just, maybe you don't like this example, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, fine. So if you look at repeating, you have to be 50 or at least over 40 years old to be around this earth long enough to see the repeating themes. Offers something good or great, and then it works over time with inhuman patience to destroy it. So you get from She's Leaving Home and, whatever, Loosing the Sky with Diamonds or whatever, Eleanor Rigby, da-da-da-da, and you go to this. Yeah, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang. If anybody just could record what I just did there, play it back, and put a beat track to it, I don't know, it might be up for a Grammy soon. Try it. It works to destroy it. There's no, but at the same time to get extra bonus points, like when your teacher would offer you like bonus points if you could answer that extra test question or whatever they would call it, extra credit. That was like extra credit if you want to. If you go home after school and can, film yourself playing frog baseball, you'll get extra credit. It's extra credit if you can then get people to completely believe there's a reason why, this could evolve. And Paul McCartney, the old Beatles, whatever, and the incredible, albums like the White Album, etc., can evolve into, into this. And if you can get the people to actually explain it away, no matter how ridiculous the theory, then they get extra credit. And then say, human being 0, not milk 1. It's a game of some kind because it does this in everything. In everything. It brings something forward that was just amazing. Let's just do original Star Trek. See what comes up here. Uhura and... this crew here. Okay. Well, then this is the movie crew. Look, guys, if you're a sci-fi fan, big thinking, time related to space, time travel, to see this and what was brought forth in the late 60s in some of the themes. The theme of the first one, Kirk's not even in it. They brought him in for the second episode. It's like Captain Pike or whatever, how something about your creative imagination is responsible for the reality itself. The themes were off the charts. It might look a little hokey and stupid to you, but this is incredible what was brought forth. And it devolves into this. I mean, and even there's incredible themes even in, Picard and Michael Dorn's. This is a good example of the Klingon, what happened to the Klingons. And if you can explain it away through woke marketing, then you could explain it to people why it was destroyed. And so it's some sort of there's a game being played here. And by the way, guys, for those that are continuously going back and forth with me, that consequence to living your life a certain way or versus no consequence, this is tremendous. The idea that there's a game being played here and how the Not Milk plays its game is tremendous support for the argument of consequence. Again, my biggest thing is, why does it work so hard? But here's part 2 to that. Why is it playing a game, basically, against humanity? And the game and the theme that repeats over and over is the what is once very, very good and almost incredible is presented, and once it's out there, it will work slowly with inhuman patience to destroy it over time. Let's do modern art. Okay, whatever. I don't know what's going to come up here. Just there's some real bad examples. Just some. Let's do this. Modern art, tube stop in London. Let's see if we can get that. Here we go. This is Piccadilly Circus. It's a little kid drawing. The famous artist from the UK produces a little kid's drawing for Piccadilly Circus, and again, what was once incredible, Leonardo DiCaprio, Da Vinci, same thing, Leonardo da Vinci, and almost impossibly good, because you get into things like, well, how could he have even painted on a canvas that was, a 1/16 of an inch thick, and the paint itself would be an 1/8 of an inch thick, and how did it even happen? You get into conspiracies like that, well, how could you even produce it, if it was on a canvas that was so thin? So in some ways it plays its game. It then takes hundreds of years to fully destroy it. And it is like, to me, if you observe it for long enough in the repeating themes, it's like a game. How many things can it introduce, even hundreds of years ago, that was incredible, beautiful, and then destroy it? And if people accept the destruction or just go along with it, like that's just the normal evolution of how a society works, how a modern society works. It just, if that's just normal, that we have, modern art abominations today, like, somebody take a pee in a glass jar and then throw a brick in it and then try to put it in the New York Museum of Modern Art, and people accept this. Then Notnook goes, point for me, 1 point away from those humans, or maybe at least the ones that don't notice. So people can talk to me about we're part of all that ever was and will be, and part of the creation, divine, part of God, part of the divine aspect of you's not here. Hey, you should learn something, but there's no downside to living your life a certain way. Hey, and they would say probably then, if that's the case, maybe it would harm your body, but no spiritual downside to renting the Action Jacksonation movie, no spiritual risk. Okay, if that's the case, then not only why does it work so hard, why does it appear to be playing this game with us of produce something and assist with, like with the Beatles, assist with George Martin and all the others, assist in its in other words, whether you think it's George Martin assisting the Beatles, Tavistock, whatever, the system itself assisted the band in making the most incredible music of all time. So the original artist gets assistance from the system itself to produce the amazing piece of art, literature, music, work. Shakespeare probably really isn't Shakespeare of sorts, Bacon's Society, but there's just truth that pours, out in it, just like the truth that pours out of, like, Hamlet and even Romeo and Juliet. The system works hard, and it'll take an artist like Spike Lee and bring him to the top and put real messages in it, and then it will work to destroy. And it's been winning. People have been accepting that this is just the way all art and literature and music goes, just down towards the toilet. That's just the normal evolution of a modern society. So if you think it's playing a game, then in a game, does somebody typically have an objective of winning? And if they do win, there's no consequence for you, the way you live your life. See, guys, I'm open to anything, but every time I look at something like this, the understand that, guys, the no consequences people are, and I don't need any more emails. I know the theories. I know where you guys are coming from. I don't need any more emails. It's you're part of the divine. You are part of God or higher self, and nothing. Higher self would never let you give yourself away here. Spiritually, you're protected because you're so powerful. You're part of something that's not here. You could make bad choices for your body, whether it be renting the movie or motorcycling without a helmet and jumping over bridges or whatever. You can wreck your body, but there's no risk for your spiritual self, is what they would say. I don't believe that. I see a system here that's working too hard to get me to make certain choices. In terms of what we looked at here, I see a system playing a game. So in a game, there's typically a winner and a loser. And if anybody saying, well, what is, whether right or wrong, Matt, the beauty of this is I'm not going to change the way I live my life. I don't care if I'm right about consequences, wrong about consequences. How I'm going to live my life is exactly the same. If there's a bug stuck on the inside of my sliding glass door, like every darn time there's a bug, like, oh, geez, I've got to slowly take my hand and kind of crack the door. My cat doesn't run out, but crack the door enough so I can get the bug out. Try to give him a chance. Every time, I don't care who's right or wrong about this. I'm going to live my life that way. And it's not just about saving bugs. I know, I got you. But I'm going to live my life. If I see a little old lady broken down the side of the road and I'm busy and I don't want to stop and I'm like, I have to. I mean, because I have to live my life that way. I'm not doing it because I'm afraid of consequence. See what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong. That's the beauty of all this. Once we're going to live our lives the same way, no matter what we investigate here. It's not like we're going to come to some point where it's like, oh, okay, I finally realize now I'm actually part of the divine and there's no spiritual way to give myself away. So, knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go, stuff I can't even say in video be banned, just go be sexually reckless and just do this and that and screw over little old ladies and rob and steal and I'm just gonna there's no do it thou wilt. I'll just collect Antoine LaVey t-shirts. I wouldn't. Most of us would be like, well, okay, this is interesting to look at, but I'm not going to change the way I live my life. That's the beauty of it. In terms of pointing at the bad guy, is it the reptilians or is it this group or that group? What we're supposed to do for ourselves is the same. That is so amazing to me. And it is so powerful once you come into that realization that, it doesn't matter. So anyway, guys, it's been long enough. Thanks for listening. I will look for your comments.